Leslie's been established amongst marathon runners since the early 70s. Most of her 100-plus marathons have been completed in under 3 hours. To maintain this standard, she puts in at least 40 to 50 miles every week and punishing sessions in the gym. Leslie exercises not only to keep herself in peak condition, but also because less weight means more speed.
They say in marathon, if you're 1% overweight, it'll slow you down 1% in the marathon. And I'm actually between 18 and 20% overweight. So one of the best things I could do would be to lose weight, although that's easier said than done. But that's down to quantity of food partly, although it's the junk food I think that's the most fattening thing. I've taken more vitamins as the years have gone on, and I've found this has helped me tremendously. And for me, I find that quite a good combination. Makes me feel a bit more energetic, because I'm always trying to do slightly more than there are hours in the day, so I'm usually very short on sleep. I like 8 hours sleep, but most of the time I probably have about 6 hours sleep.
Kevin. Hi, Ron. Subscription from Lou Myers.
When he's not running or competing, Ron stays close to runners and running.
New York Marathon there. We need to get some more details. If you can see Jeff Smith dropped out halfway, if you can somehow get hold of Jeff.
Publisher of a monthly magazine for runners, Ron, who's a qualified textile chemist, also owns a sports shoe and clothing company. Whatever he's doing, wherever he is, time has to be found for running.
Too early, something. I don't find running and fitting running into my life difficult at all. I mean, a lot of people will say, well, look, running is your life. How do you fit the other things in? But I'm, in a way, a creature of habit. And I think if you want to carry out a regular running program, you have to make it something of a habit. And therefore, I always run every morning, first thing in the morning before breakfast. I run with May mainly now. And I find that if I don't run at lunchtime, inevitably, the phone does ring, or somebody wants to meet me, or something's happening, I'm in a meeting towards the end of the day, then I'm under pressure to get the run in. In winter it's dark, and I don't like, particularly running in the dark. So I prefer, and always, in fact, almost always run at lunchtime. So that is a routine, and to be honest, I don't find that difficult at all.
Top marathon runners like Ron and Leslie travel the world to run 26 miles. Some are bread and butter races, others stay in the memory.
I think New York, it's so exciting. Even I have difficulty in slowing myself down in the start, and normally my problem is going off too slowly and then having a lot of catching up to do in the second half of the race.
And there they go. Starting on both sides of the bridge, there's a slight stagger to account for the fact that the two sides are slightly different in length. And this sight needs no words.
But New York's so exciting that it just puts a spring in your step. And the crowds are amazing. It's deafening, they shout so loudly, and it's so exciting. You feel like turning around and running back again at the end. I think it's the only marathon that really I've run all the way home for about 2 or 3 miles after to the place I was staying after the race, and I was really running as fast as I could because I was so excited at the thought of the race. And the next day you do feel really, really on a high.
There was a big step up to international, and then a lot of heartbreak and disappointments at that level until I sort of finally achieved what I thought was something.
And Ron Hill making the pace on him.
I'd been an international for 7 years then and been to a lot of games, including 2 Olympics, and never won a damn thing, and it looked like that was going to be the story of my career. I could get there but never perform on the big day. And in fact, on that occasion, it was on the original course from Marathon to Athens, so there was a lot of history attached to that race. And the race finished in the old 1896 Marble Stadium. It was a special finish for that particular race. And over the last 6 miles, although I was desperately tired, this guy was slowing up, and I caught him with 1 kilometre to go.
Hill's coming right up on his shoulder. Hill coming up to overtake him now. What a tremendous performance by Hill. Hill going sweeping past him, and watch Hill accelerate now. Hill will put in a burst to kill off Rowland.
Now, I was very happy to be winning a silver medal, and suddenly for it to turn into gold was unbelievable. And, you know, I raced into that stadium and I looked over my shoulder twice on the track, even though I was miles ahead. I kept thinking, he must be catching me.
And the new European champion is Ron Hill for Great Britain.
And my mother and father were there, and May and the two kids were there, so it was a tremendous occasion. And I've never lived through anything like that again. I'm sure it was really marvellous.
Gold, silver and bronze, the tangible accolades for the triumphs of a lifetime's running. The Olympic Games, the European Championships, the Commonwealth Games, the Boston Marathon in 1970, when Ron Hill was the fastest marathon runner in the world. Ron and Leslie are star performers, and race organisers all over the world pay high fees to get them to run, and more if they win. Leslie Watson stayed a champion not only through her ability and commitment to winning, but also because she takes care to stay free of injury. And as a physiotherapist, she helps others to avoid or treat the aches and strains of running.
Are you running tonight?
Yes, I am.
Probably a third of my patients are sports injuries, but I do a lot of chronic injuries like recurrent stiff neck or shoulders or bad back, and I do enjoy doing these things as well.
It's really important if you could get out and run a bit more on soft surfaces.
And part of the thing I enjoy doing is telling people how to prevent their injuries, because it's very foot related in running it. There's so many people have injuries due to just the wrong shoes, and this is quite rewarding because you recommend the right shoe and sometimes the pain clears up immediately just with a tiny bit of treatment.
I can feel that.
Oh, a bit of fibrositis there. I'll show you some more exercises after that should help that a bit.
And you can advise people in their training, and it means I have a very wide range of patients. I have people from all walks of life, and I have young people, old people, complete variety, and it makes my job very exciting as well. I really, in effect, have two jobs, one as a runner and one as a physiotherapist.
If you're going to be running what they call off the road as well as on the road, canal banks and parks and everything, you're going to need a bit of grip on the bottom, otherwise you could slip and do yourself a nasty injury. And the thing with this is that you've got this...
Free advice from one of the greats of British athletics.
which is most people...
Though yesterday's champions may be strangers to the young, Ron Hill's keen to encourage and promote running events for young people.
Longer than a lot of other shoes.
If we can get them off the streets, away from committing criminal damage, and channel their energies into a constructive area, then this is going to help us in the long run in policing it.
If you consider the Bolton Marathon, this year there are about 3,000 runners in the marathon, but the Plodder Lane Dash, which was run in conjunction for it for kids, had got about 2,200 runners, and I can see that in a couple of years overtaking the marathon itself. So the meeting this morning with the police who want to put on a schools Olympics in the Greater Manchester area was purely a consultancy thing. You know, they wanted to pick my brains, and they also want to see if I'll be involved in the publicity side of promoting the thing and putting my name to it and being at the launch or whatever, which, you know, I'll be quite happy to do for them.
They really get involved.
I think you'd rather see them out running and training than sort of doing the other naughty things that kids can get up to.
Creative rather than destructive.
Yeah.
Trying to run away from us.
You should try to catch him there.
Yeah.
I like to go horse riding, but I very rarely do it. I'm so short of time. Sometimes I go in Hyde Park, but they're very few and far between, so I'm really like a complete beginner, not being very good at sport. I find each time I go, it's like the first time, because I do leave such long gaps in between. Occasionally I have gone up for a few times in succession, and then I've seen a bit of improvement, but then if you leave it for another 6 months or a year, then you're back to square one again.
But this is where they both belong, out on the roads, still striving to get the best out of themselves. Both Ron and Leslie agree that performance is closely related to diet.
Diet is important to everybody, not just runners. You know, I think exercise it should be a very integral part of anybody's life if they want to lead a healthy life and a fit life and live longer, basically. But even 15, 20 years ago, I was eating quite a few raw foods, eating only brown bread, basically. And my diet now is not changed that much. In the morning, I have sort of muesli, and I have that with a banana. I do put a bit of brown sugar on because I like sweet things, and then I have coffee with sugar again, and that's more or less my breakfast. I don't eat a lot. For lunch I will have 2 slices of brown bread with some cold meat and always a tomato. I have a tomato, then I have some of maize fruit cake, which again is essential carbohydrates. Then I always finish my lunch with an apple. And then basically I don't eat anything else till the evening, when I will have probably pasta once a week, maybe rice once a week. On the other days I will eat a potato as the carbohydrate input, a small amount of meat, either red or white, and probably some fish, and always some fresh vegetables. And that's about it. I don't really eat anything more. I don't always have a sweet or anything like that. So it's not a large input, but you know, I feel I'm very healthy and my weight doesn't change, so I think I'm eating enough.
I prefer vegetarian. I like vegetarian whole food best, but I eat out a lot, so sometimes if it's not a vegetarian restaurant, it's difficult to find something that's vegetarian that tastes good. And so then I do have fish, and I break down and have puddings usually, and I keep eating chocolate in between. And this is a very bad thing that I always try and cut out. I maybe cut it out for a day or two, and then I go back onto it. I take vitamins all the time, and hopefully this counteracts to a degree the wrong things that I eat. I probably eat too much, eat about 6,000 calories a day, which is really too much, and so I have a bit of a weight problem usually. And this slows me down quite a bit in my running, but I do love eating so much.
Since 1956 I've kept a training log, and it's 2 lines per run, and it developed very quickly into 2 runs per day. And I got a big notebook now, and I keep 10 lines for competitions, which I fill in red. So every mile that I've run since 1956 has been recorded. Tuesday, August the 10th, 1971, lunchtime, Helsinki. The marathon course, dropped off at 16 kilometres and ran back to the Sunday, 16th of July, 1972 morning, 20.5 mile course, opposite way around, knackered at the end, sweated a lot, took one of his Thursday, January 3rd, 1980, morning, 4 mile road course, dangerous running, raining, sheet ice and slippery frozen smooth snow.
There are very few people who start out being naturals in that sense, who are automatically great. They have to work very hard at it, and you have to be very prepared to dig in and to dig in and to dig in and to keep going and to keep going, to persevere. So you look for people with a sense of commitment, with a sense of tenacity, with an ambition to do well, to do better than they ever even dreamed was possible. In other words, to chase the impossible dream, to be able to be consistent. So they have to train every day. What they're really doing is signing a contract for life, because once you're into running, you're into running. Once you're into marathon, then you've as it were, sold yourself to the marathon, it becomes the centrepiece in your life. Everything is then directed around your ambition to run and to run and to run and to run faster over an enormous distance.
Running daily, as I have done for the last 30 years almost, has kept my body in the condition that it should be in, and you know, I'm very happy to remain that way. I couldn't sort of anticipate turning into a fatty, which I would almost certainly do if I stopped running, and therefore I intend to keep on forever.
Forever?
Well, another 60 years anyway, at least.
Leslie Watson coming in, I believe.
I think really at the moment there's a lot of scope in long distance running for women because they haven't been doing it so long, and that's the highlight for me. I'm not so keen on training, but I do love racing.
To Ron and Leslie, running is a way of life. They still run to win, but most of all, they run because they enjoy it.